Hey everybody, Zee Garcia here, and today I'm going to be starting a new little series of videos called Unsung Gems, in which I'm going to go through the alphabet, picking games that begin with that letter in each of the videos. So today we'll be doing A, and talking about those games a little bit more. I think they are games that don't get a lot of attention. They are games that are worthy of attention. They're interesting. They're little gems. They're not perfect, but they're engaging. But they don't have a lot of exposure, or, folks just don't seem to know about them, perhaps. So I want to bring those out to the limelight a little bit and just kind of discuss games that are not often discussed. So I'll be picking some number of games for each of these and talking about them. Today I've got 5 games, and it'll be somewhere around 5. It depends how many I find. So we're going to get started here with my first pick. I'll just mention them, talk a little bit about how they work, what I like about them, and that's going to be it. I'm looking forward to an engaging discussion down below. Definitely feel free to let me know some games that begin with the letter A that you find to be unsung gems yourself. So let's get going. The first game I'm talking about today is a 2-player cooperative game called And Then We Held Hands. And in this one, the theme is the 2 players are in a relationship that you need to mend. And you are going to be doing so by cooperating, playing cards in order to move around this circular board with a lot of little colored dots that represent emotions. You can play one of the cards in front of you or in front of your partner and try to achieve different little goals. Like, we both need to end on a green dot. If we manage to do that, we complete that mission, flip over the next one. We're moving in towards the center of this board that has multiple rings on it. It's very abstracted. I think the theme, it plays, but only sort of, ethereally. It plays in the abstract, because the game really does feel very abstract. You're supposed to be silent. It's a game about sort of, communication only with sort of being present with one another, not necessarily discussing what you're going to do. You're not allowed to do that. But it's got lovely artwork, very gentle, very stark, beautiful artwork. The game makes sense. The mechanisms are interesting and engaging. There is a nice amount of tension in the game. And I find it to be clever. It feels like a bit of a curio. It's a cooperative game, and there's plenty of those, but this one feels different because of that jumping on point of it being a game about relationships, about being silent and just being with each other, and about exploring these emotions. The pitch behind the game is that you should play this when you want to work some stuff out, but of course, you can just play the game. And I think it's an engaging one that you might want to try out if, again, you're looking for something off the beaten path. Next up, I'm talking about ANIMALIA, and this is a game from a very esteemed group of designers, the same folks who made Jamaica, much bigger hit than ANIMALIA. Same company, too. And in this one, you have animals that are competing in a show, and you are going to be collecting sets of these cards, these animals. The main mechanism is one of those in which you reveal a single card from the deck. It'll be some sort of adorably drawn critter. Put it on the table, and then you decide if you want to claim it, and if not, then the choice goes to the next player. And that goes around the table until someone takes it or no one takes it. If no one takes it, it comes back around to you. You flip another card and add it to the first one and make the pot a little bit juicier, and that continues. That's basically it. And then at the end of the round, you are going to score some points based on those sets you made. What animals you've got in front of you. There's a few in there of each kind that have little special abilities, like a trickster, and one that lets you spy on something, things like that. But I love the look. The production is amazing. Artwork, card quality, cardboard chips, which is how you score. I believe there are 2 editions of this game out there. They sort of made like a simpler one without those gorgeous chips. The one I have and have seen is the larger one, the very, lovingly produced one. And the game is very straightforward. It's very simple. It's certainly not revolutionary, but the combination of the gentle, adorable theme, the artwork, and the sort of languid pace of the whole thing. It's not a game that feels hurried in any way. makes for a relaxing game in many ways. It's definitely confrontational. You are trying to win. You are trying to make these sets and undercut someone by taking something away, but it doesn't feel mean ever. So I really enjoy it. It's one that is very rare. I've only ever seen, I think, 2 copies in person. The first one I ever saw, I bought. And then I think I've seen 1 other copy in person at some convention somewhere. But I think it's just beautiful. So Animalia, very nice little card game, and I recommend it. This next one is very new. It's from 2020, so it's possible that it just hasn't sort of hit critical mass yet, and folks haven't really heard about it. It's a game called Alice's Garden with an Alice in Wonderland theme. And it is a tile laying game, sort of like patchwork in a way, in which you are going to be collecting tiles, polyominoes of different shapes and amounts of squares, and putting them on a little board in front of you. That's basically what you're doing, and then you'll be scoring for various things. But the scoring is very clever in this game, because you will want to accomplish a bunch of different things that all give you points and are all at odds with one another. So there's a kind of thing that you want to have a bunch of them grouped together. Great. There's a kind of thing that you want to have in these 2 columns in the middle. Okay. And there's some that you want to have on the outside and some that you don't want to have touching, city building sort of concepts in which you have to manage the geography of what you are doing. It's a very small package that manages to feel bigger than the physical game is, and I find it very clever. I've always enjoyed puzzly games, but I'm not a huge fan of city building games. I think the sort of limitations that they tend to put upon you can push me away. I like the puzzle they present, but I don't necessarily find myself finding a way into them. This game manages to not push me out that way. I like the limitations. I like the puzzle. I like having to give up one thing to gain another one. And what you take, when, where you place it, all of those things are very clever and engaging. If you like Alice in Wonderland, that's another layer on top of that. It's a little bonus right on top of that. I could take it or leave it. Alice in Wonderland, I think, is a little overused in board gaming right now, but it works just fine, So yeah, Alice's Garden, I suspect, is one of those games that might get picked up by a company, maybe here in the United States or somewhere else, and sort of get a wider distribution. I think it might be one of those games someone purchases and puts out again. And I would not be upset about that, because I think more people should play this one. Alice's Garden is a really neat tile laying game. I know lots of folks like tile laying, so check this one out if it sounds like it's your kind of thing. My 4th pick here is certainly the best known of all the games I'm talking about today, but it seems to still not get nearly as much mention or recognition as you would think it would get, considering it is from 2 very well-known designers, Kevin Wilson and Eric Lang. It came out from IDW, and it is a fantasy theme. This is a game called ARCANE Academy. And in it, you are going to be drafting and playing tiles into a grid board in front of you, and then activating those tiles in order to gain a couple of resources. You have, a couple of like these red gems, which are one type of resource, some blue energy, which is another type, and then spending those things to cast spells. It's supposed to be you passing a test at magic school. You're taking a test. Theme doesn't really work out that well, but it'll sort of go away quickly. You can just enjoy what's going on. The clever thing, and the main sort of mechanical hook in the game, is that these tiles you are drafting and putting in front of you have connectors on some of the sides. And if you manage to hook up 2 of these tiles with a half a connector on each to each other, then when you activate one tile, it will activate all the ones around it that are hooked up into it. And so for a single placement, a single turn, you are going to maybe get up to 5 different things. And then you leave that one tile you activated covered up. So that one's not going to activate again until you take a reset turn in which you clear off your board, get all those things back. It's very interesting. There's a little bit of, competition in the game where you can directly affect someone else, take something of theirs, set them back somehow. But there's lots of different ways to make victory points, you know? And you're going to be scoring a few different things at the end of the game. It's quick turns. Everything makes sense and works out well. Some of the cards have little abilities that one of the symbols on the tiles will let you activate and trigger that thing again. So it works out nicely. Short playtime, quick turns. Everybody's working on their own little world, you know? You're working on your own little grid that you're trying to strategically fill up so you get as much return for as little work as possible. And then the scoring happens, and that's pretty straightforward too. Not a lot of overhead when it comes to scoring or any of that. So I like this one. I think it's a good family weight game. Theme's cute, if not particularly strong, and strangely, it just doesn't seem like a lot of folks have played it, or maybe even, maybe talk about it. It's even got a Watch It Played. Rodney Smith's, from Watch It Played has done a tutorial video of this, an instructional video. So it's got some push behind it, but it just didn't seem to break through. It's one that's kind of faded away. So check it out if you are looking for a little known or a lesser known Kevin Wilson, Eric Lang game. I think you're going to enjoy it. And the last game I'm talking about today is a one-player only card game called ARKHAM NOIR, case number 1, The Cult Witch Murders. And there are multiple cases. There's a case number 2 already. Really pick whichever one you want. The first one is a little bit simpler because it has sort of fewer mechanisms, and then they innovated on that for the follow-up. It is a card game with a lot of pressure in which you are trying to complete investigations. There are suspects, there are clues, you are going to be drawing cards, playing them out and onto this sort of, line that built up, and then eventually completing these cases and banking them. You need to bank a certain number of them before the game eliminates you in some other way. There's actually a lot of mechanisms at play here, and the game is a little tricky to sort of understand and figure out where every card needs to go and how you need to manage all of these things. It is not a game that is as simple as a lot of other straightforward one-player card games, but it's very thematic. It's sort of grim and captivating, and it feels sort of mysterious. Thematically, you're supposed to be either you are H.P. Lovecraft or you are helping H.P. Lovecraft solve murders, mysteries. That doesn't really come through, but you live in the world of the stories, and that kind of comes through. All the artwork is in black and white. It all looks really suspenseful and engaging and interesting, and the game is certainly difficult to do well in. It's going to keep you coming back because you want to master this thing. You want to get your card manipulation just right, and I think it's a good one. It's one I certainly recommend if you are a big single-player fan and you want a card game that isn't too long but is very engaging and gives you a lot to think about. It won't lay down for you. You got to figure it out. So that's a good one. ARKHAM NOIR, whichever case you want. I'm talking about case number 1 here, but whichever one you want. So there you go. And that's my 5 games for my Unsung Gem games that are that begin with an A, okay? So I'll be doing one of these likely once a week, just going through the alphabet. So next week I'm going to do B, and so on and so on. Like I said in the opening, let me know in the comments below if you've played these, if you like them, or if you have another one that begins with an A that you think is an unsung gem and you'd like more people to try it out. So that's going to do it for me, everybody. My name is Zee Garcia. Thanks for checking this out. I'll see you on the next one.